keepers are in danger of, the hobby and the industry is in real danger on many fronts. And so free handling is an issue, and people are worried about, how we come off. Well, the thing is, I'm as much a member of this community as you, and the way I was raised, the way my mentor taught me, was by using my hands. And he taught me that there's much more flexibility. One can move much easier and more freely using one's hands instead of a hook. You can go in any direction. It's a better way for me and for this guy. We like it. That's why we do it, because we feel that there's more mobility and you don't twitch when you're free handling so much. Look, we're fine. One hook, two hooks, the snake comes toward you and people tend to, man, I wish swaggers would let me sleep. I'm so tired. One hook, two hooks, people get scared, they twitch. They're the ones that aren't ready, right? And I'm not saying anyone should free handle. I don't care at all. What I am saying is that in my case, when I know the snake, I certainly don't free handle all of them, but when I know the snake and there is a reason, the reason being that it's more comfortable for me, yeah, I'll do it, and I don't really care what anyone says. He's a good guy. He's very responsible. He has good habits, and I'm okay with that. So if you're not, I get it. But this is the way I came up. I was taught that this gives me more mobility than not, much like a motorcycle, say, compared to a car. A motorcycle is more dangerous. I've crashed on a motorcycle, but I've also ridden it so much that I felt like there was just more mobility. I was able to move around better. I avoided more accidents. I went too fast. That was the problem. But there's this analogy now going around comparing driving to snake handling, that driving is a privilege, it's not a right. That having these animals is a privilege, not a right. Well, a privilege in reality is a perception of something as being exceptional to you. And a right is something that has to do more with legalities. So it is, you take a drive, well, just to extend their analogy, you take a driving course, okay, to drive. So you're getting trained. You have to be a certain age. But after a certain point, when you've met those requirements, it is your right to drive. It's not everyone's right. If you're not responsible, if you're a drunk driver, well, of course not. If you're just a bad driver and you're putting people in danger, of course not. These are obvious things. Is it a privilege to drive? I think so. I think it's a privilege. I love driving. I appreciate the fact that I have this giant thing moving by itself. After having ridden bicycles so long, to me it's a privilege to be able to have something, this giant thing made of steel that moves by itself, that has music and heat when it's freezing outside, and air conditions when it's so hot outside. Yeah, it's a privilege. Having these animals, is it my right? Right now it is. In the state that I'm in right now it is. Is it a privilege? Absolutely, it's a privilege. It's a wonderful thing. That's my perception. But it's not my privilege to have these animals, nor is it my privilege to drive. I've earned the right to drive. And one can make that case with many other things. The right to bear arms and so on. Right? You could just extend their little metaphor as much as you like. So a privilege is something that you see it as a wonderful thing. To me, it's a privilege to live with these animals and with swaggers. It's also a privilege to drive and ride motorcycles and ATVs and bicycles. It's also my right. I have the right to do these things, and it's an earned right if it's legal. And I've moved here because the laws are more in favor of the things that I enjoy doing. It's my right to do that. I see it as a privilege to be here. It's just the way I see things. You don't make laws for privileges. You make laws for rights. And it's not just one person saying this. Now there's been a few. Someone who's highly respected said it. So the word spread, and people using this little metaphor or analogy. And I feel like the people who are handling snakes that appreciate the interaction more than just the observation, that no one cares what you say. And I'm not asking people even to listen, not to listen. Well, that's all I'm asking, is that people just listen. and hear us out. It's not just me. There's quite a few of us. If you disagree, that's fine, and you'll probably come out ahead. You'll probably prevail in this whole thing, and I'm sure that you can do things to us, all sorts of stuff that I could come up with anyway. Point is, it would be good if it would be nice. I'm not one, God knows, to discourage input from other people or criticism. I'm very good that way. I would just appreciate it if once in a while someone would let me finish a thought, because no one's listening. I'm not even saying that I'm right. I'm just saying that me and my friends, the ones that I talk to all the time about this stuff, that enjoy the interaction with the animals at our own risk, at our own peril. We're not asking you to be convinced, just to listen, just to let us finish a few sentences. Everyone that makes a comment will talk about how wrong this is, how you shouldn't free handle snakes. It's not what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about that. All I'm saying is that instead of waiting for us to finish the sentence and you having the same thought, you're just waiting to actually listen. Just listen. You don't have to agree. Just listen. That's all that we're asking for. And it's, I'm talking for, I think, if I could say so, about 5 people, myself included. And we discuss this in a very understanding way. But when we talk about this, we include you and what's right for the community as a whole. But we feel like, just as members of it, that no one's even listening. We could be, to use the word wrong, we could be wrong, if that's what you want to say. And bear in mind also that, I don't want to get into actually the details of the arguments even. I just want to say that it would be nice if someone would just occasionally just listen to us. Let us just finish our sentences without the usual arguments that tend to come from one person and sort of find their way down. Just like when someone comments about my cat on TikTok or something about swaggers, and suddenly, there's 50 people saying the same thing. It's the same argument. It's a fine argument. It's very compelling. The wild animals shouldn't be kept as pets. Good. Whatever you like. But if you were to, you'd be amazed how they copy each other. If you were to read the comments and see just how similar they are, you'd be amazed. I mean, someone could say something that's almost like an esoteric, strange, obscure, nuanced comment, and suddenly everyone's saying it as if it's theirs, as if they didn't read the comments. Well, it's the same thing. It really is. You get inundated, at least I do, with comments and not so much text. People like to say it so other people will agree, and then, of course, they agree. If had it been the opposite, it could just have easily has been something positive. My only point is that we should be heard. That's all. You could fight, you could disagree, and I'm sure, you have all these numbers. It's not a war. It's maybe a war of ideology, a war of beliefs, but this is just the way I was trained. I'm doing this for 43 years. Doesn't make me better than anybody. Doesn't give me more of a say, but I just feel like we and I should have a say. That's all. Just to be allowed to say what we think without being interrupted and having people insulting us and being so rude as has been happening. I understand that opinions run deep, but you know what? Mine run deep too. And we do talk to each other more often than you think about how the other side is feeling and how we can sort of work with and not against everyone. So the one thing that we came up with is that we deserve to finish our sentences without all the rudeness, without the insults, without assuming that we're completely insane, and just hear us out. We do it. All right? That's all I wanted to say. I hope everyone has a nice weekend and does something fun. You deserve it. You worked all week.